to Say Report Jr., everybody. I am Dale Decker, and I am joined by...
Zach Sarowick.
Hey, boy!
Oh, there
and
it is.
And who is that? Who is
I
that
don't know. We've
joining
apparently
us?
got a co-host.
Hey, boy!
Is this really? This is how we're going to start episode 10? This is like an epic episode for us, and this is our open.
Yes, precisely.
Oh man.
We could do a do-over.
Nope, that's good. I'm not. No, I refuse.
Listen, they've rode on this train for 10 episodes. This is when it gets real, and this is when we get real crazy.
Who'd have thought this is when we really start messing with the intros? Apparently.
Right?
Oh God.
So I feel like we have a lot to discuss. Not really a lot, but
we have two very big topics to talk about.
Yes.
I think.
Yes, we do. Very big. So, which would you?
Oh,
you
obviously, let me start with one other thing first, because let me start with the. I'm mad at Bethesda.
Oh yes, because I wanted to hear about that.
Let me explain this. So, yesterday, at time of recording, about 11 o'clock my time, which I guess would have been 1-ish your time. Bethesda gets on Twitter, puts up the link to their Twitch page, and says, "Please stand by." Any reasonable human being would then think, "Oh, okay, so they're going to announce something soon." It wasn't soon. For 22 hours.
Oh, wow.
Because it was 10 o'clock, 20 hours, because it was 10 o'clock their time that they finally announced it. So for 20 hours, all you saw on the stream was a Vault Boy bobblehead from Fallout, and a TV in the background that just said, "Please stand by," with a Fallout loading screen, basically. For 20 hours. When they closed the office for the night, which is when I should have stopped, I watched for an embarrassingly long time after this. I'm putting this out right now. Someone came in, laid the bobblehead down, and tucked it in and shut the lights off.
That's fantastic.
And they left for the day. And that still ran all night. And I watched that for like 3 or 4 hours before it finally clicked in my head. Oh, they're gone for the day. I don't need to do this anymore.
But that's when you miss what's going to happen.
Exactly. So I went to bed. This is after, for literally no reason, Monday night, literally no reason, I never went to sleep. It was like the first time since college, for whatever dumb reason, I never went to sleep. So from Monday to Tuesday, I had been up for like almost 24 hours. So by the time I was finally done with this thing, and I was like, fine, I'm going to bed for the first time in 2 days. I go to sleep, I wake up the next day, and I missed it.
Oh, no.
I got up, I walked up to make my coffee, I come back, and I'm like, oh, I should check on that thing. I loaded it up, and it says, "This stream is ended." I missed it by maybe 20 minutes.
No. That sucks.
And all it was a teaser. They're going to explain the rest of it at E3, which I expected. But it's just like, oh, it's a teaser for the next Fallout game. Well, we knew that.
Yeah.
We knew that.
But Fallout, isn't it officially like Fallout 76 or something like that?
Yes.
Yes.
Called Fallout 76. It is about I don't know how much you know about the Fallout universe, or if you.
I know that a nuclear bomb hits, and it's pretty much the stuff. It's like what happens after that.
Right. So, I mean, the basic premise, especially because Bethesda bought out the license for the property and started with Fallout 3. So Fallout 1 and 2, even though they're referenced and connected, were not Bethesda games. But I don't have no idea how much they changed of the lore and all that. But theoretically, since at least Fallout 3, the idea was that in 2077, the year after the, I guess, tricentennial of America, that would be 300 years. Yeah. Nuclear war breaks out, bombs fall. There is a company called Vault Tech that was like, "Hey, we have underground vaults for you all to live in, or some of you."
Yeah.
And they stuck a bunch of people under. The kind of story that runs with that, and especially in Fallout 3, is that some of those vaults were actually kind of screwed up experiments.
Yeah.
But then a handful of them, or at least one of them, was what they called the control vault. Because in experiments you have to have control groups.
Exactly.
So the control vault was Vault 76. And the
Ooh,
idea was that
okay.
after 20 years, that vault would reopen and those people would go out and start kind of figuring out what the hell happened, how they can rebuild, all
Hmm.
this stuff.
That's interesting. That actually makes
Right.
me want to get into Fallout.
So Fallout. So the other thing that's going to go on with this is that Kotaku put out an article today with a bunch of the different things that they heard because the teaser really did nothing. It tells you nothing except for the fact that you're playing someone from Vault 76. That's pretty much all it does.
Mm.
I hate you, Bethesda. So um, it's probably going to be much more of a like online survival game.
Hmm.
They likened it to I don't know if you've ever seen Rust
No.
or DayZ. These are mods that are in games and mods that came out that were like, we're going to plop you into an online server and you have to start scrabbling um, for supplies and tools and stuff. And other people can come and you can fight each other or work together, all this other stuff.
Okay.
So that's much more what they're expecting out of it. It's not going to be, theoretically, it will have quests in a mainline story and all that, but I don't know how big of a deal that's going to be compared to this kind of like base building, community building aspect to it. So it'll be interesting to see at E3. But it was
Yeah.
just like a 20-hour stream to
That's
lead
so
up to
funny.
a 2-minute trailer that then tells you nothing, and it's like, oh, but we'll see you at E3 because we're like one of the first. I think they're usually
Aren't they usually the first one to
EA
go?
usually goes. No, EA usually goes first on Saturday because they
Mm-hmm.
don't even technically their thing doesn't even technically take place at E3 anymore. It's like across the street in its own thing.
Oh.
Uh, yeah, EA. People are weird because E3, surprisingly, so few of those press conferences even happen like at E3 anymore because it's like we want to get this whole stadium together instead.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that more probably next week because next week
Yeah.
will be our pre episode, I
Mm-hmm.
think. Uh, but yeah, Bethesda usually goes sometime on Sunday, either right before or right after Xbox or something like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we'll
Yeah.
get more from
So
there. But it was
it's
just
gonna
like
be interesting.
it was just crazy to watch the Twitter and to watch the Twitch stream all day going, what is this? What is this? What is this?
Mm.
People throwing out all of these different theories and ideas, and it's like, oh, we're at the 10-year anniversary of Fallout 3, and maybe we'll get a remaster of that and Fallout New Vegas together and all this other stuff. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, just tell us something. And probably the most annoying thing was that every now and then you would see people. They would like come in the room. Someone like came in the room and just like blew up a balloon and left it on the table and walked out. And then like a couple of the executives are like really that are really well known that do like the E3 press conference and stuff would
Mm-hmm.
come in, look around, maybe wave, and they'd walk out again. And it's like, why? Why are you doing this to?
That's kind of cool. I actually really admire that kind of stuff because that's just funny.
Yeah.
I don't know.
At the same
That's a
time,
very funny
I
thing to
watched it.
take part in. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I
I mean,
watched
it's
it. I
it's
can't
kind of
complain.
like it's such a cool thing to take part in, like knowing that this is dumb. I shouldn't be watching this. Nothing is happening. But like so many people are like it's so cool the hype that I sometimes think the hype for video games is more fun than some of the video games.
Oh, of course. Oh, of course it
Because
is. Of
like
course it is. Fallout 4 was like a whole like it was a completely different game in my head than whatever it showed
yeah,
up
exactly,
at.
exactly.
So,
But like it's not to like segue too quickly, but to bring up Pokemon, like watching the theory videos or
oh,
looking up
man.
and like looking up memes or anything like that, like just being in that little community is just fun and it's fun to laugh at and be like, this is never gonna happen, but I wish it would because
Oh,
that's
I
a
know.
great story, kind of. I don't know. It's just like watching that stream, just having it on in the background, unless you were literally staring at your screen for 20 hours, Zach.
No,
But
no, no.
having it on in the
I was like
background
flipping
is
back and
very
forth
funny.
like I started this thing in my head where it was like every 15 minutes I'd be like, it's probably going to be at the top of the hour, but I should
Mm,
check it every 15-minute increments just in case because it
yeah.
seems because they're not going to do it at like 2:22. That's crazy. 2:20, 2:30 maybe, 2:15. Yeah, I got to check both of those times.
Well, it's like,
And Bethesda is such a strange, like a really strange company because I mean they're a big AAA company. They are probably who knows what goes on behind the scenes, but they always seem to have this like they have this weird um, personality to themselves.
mm-hmm.
And I think the biggest thing about this is that it was Fallout. Like if this was another game, I probably wouldn't have done this.
Yeah.
But I would say probably playing Fallout 3 and then New Vegas in college is what really kicked off like I think it like brought me back to like video games as a whole in a way. Like I've always played, but I think that was the thing that made me go, I want to be in like the video game world and do things like watch E3
Yeah.
and like read articles and background stuff and really know this thing. Like I think because I picked up Fallout 3 in college and I think I played it for 4 days straight, start to finish, including all of the DLC. Like when the Game of the Year edition came out,
Yeah.
like I played that thing like back to front in like a
Wow.
week. And
Wow.
it's like this, and I was like, I love this. I love this game so very much, and it is so flawed in so many dumb ways, but I couldn't. I mean, Liam Neeson's your dad in that game, for God's sakes. How could you not love it?
What?
Yeah, Liam Neeson
That's
voices the
fantastic.
father in
That's
that.
amazing.
So,
Oh my god.
so
Yeah.
yeah,
So that's so funny that like those are the games. I wish I had games that were like that made me want to get into E3 and all that. It was really we went to an E3 experience to talk more about like being in that environment kind of way of like sitting and just watching and waiting for the press conference to start. We Devin and I went to an E3 experience at some movie theater, I think in Massachusetts, and it was basically a live stream in a movie theater of the PlayStation conference. Not the conference, the PlayStation presentation.
right.
You know, and that was just so cool because we get in there and there's a timer on the screen. So, like, counting down for it to start. And then it starts, and everyone in the theater is just going insane. And it's like, this is cool. And, like, that kind of started my jump into, oh, I want to be in on this E3 scene. And I want to know about these games that are coming out and all the stuff around them and, like, following the Twitters and all of that. And then GameStop happened, and it's like, well, now I have to kind of be up on this stuff, but I also want to be because I'm working at a place that sells video games, which I love, you know? So that's funny. It's funny that we're both like, I need E3 in my life, but for different reasons.
And then Twitter brought something else to us last night in the best way because they didn't, for whatever reason, live stream a much more important event,
Yeah,
in my
seriously.
opinion.
That was the coolest. So you texted me about this, and I was like, oh
Yeah.
man, I don't know if I'm gonna be around for it. I'm either gonna be asleep or what. And then I ended up just staying awake, and I am purposefully not mentioning what it actually is. So, um,
So,
so I
so
went.
yeah,
So I like started looking up the hashtags and everything, and then I found the Twitter page and like I turned on notification. I'm like, this is gonna be fun, and my phone kept like going off, and I'm like, oh my god! And then Pokemon Let's Go, Pikachu and Eevee is officially announced.
yay! Oh my God. I was just like, somebody just was like, oh my God, it's real. And I was like, wait, what's real? And I realized they're like, there's an event in like an hour.
Mm.
They're gonna have a 90-minute press conference on what's gonna happen with the Pokemon games over like the next 2 years, and they're not live streaming it. It's happening in Japan. It's happening in what looks like a very bland little conference room.
Mm.
And it's just like the pictures look like the weirdest, most like this is our business plan for Pokemon, and this is what the graphs are gonna look like. I was like, but why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Why are you not? Why aren't there lights? And why isn't it live streamed? And why aren't there people in costumes? Like, what is going on?
um it's just like where you know what they have a video up now today. The video of the thing went up
Of the press conference, of the little,
of the
yeah.
press conference.
It just looks like I'm gonna go to
And
I'm gonna
it's
go
so
to a
basic.
conference. Yeah, I'm gonna go to a conference for my job in 2 weeks, where I'm gonna go to a hotel in Orlando.
Oh wow.
And they're going to, if it's anything like the last one I went to like a few years ago, they're going to put up like 3 giant screens, and there's going to be music and flashing lights and lasers, all for freaking book selling.
Oh wow.
So the fact that the Pokemon company couldn't get like a laser pointer is like the funniest
I'm
thing
sure
to
they
me.
could have.
They were just like,
They
they're
were
just like, this is for us. This isn't for the public. So why would we go through that? Like,
Oh my god. But it was just fun because I don't keep up with Twitter and I don't keep up with like live stuff really. but it was fun to have the notifications come to my phone and then seeing that notification of it, the actual name popping up, and then watching the video. Which I am excited. I don't know. I'm excited and yet I'm scared.
Because so in case anybody is completely lost at listening to this at this point, so they announced three three big announcements for Pokemon last night. The first one was the mobile game Pokemon Quest, which I think actually was up even before last night.
Was it?
Because I swear to God, unless it was like a pre-download thing, I swear to God I saw that when I was like scrolling through the eShop or something like last week and saw it. But
and it is also
it's
on
free.
the Switch.
Right. It's free on Switch. It's free on mobile. It is a very mobile-ass mobile game that basically auto-runs itself. You just have to press like 1 or 2 buttons at a time. It's cute. It is what it is.
It is cute. I kind of want to talk about that a little because I think we've both been playing it. But we can move on. It's like a quick, like that's a quick little.
Yeah. They also announced Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, which we talked about before, and the possibility of that.
Yes.
That is going to integrate basically it's a story mode for Pokemon Go. Like that's what it really is. It's a like $30 or $40 Pokemon Go story, where you're going to be able to use both like Pokemon that you caught in Pokemon Go into this game. The game itself, which is going to be on Switch, is also going to use a lot of the Pokemon Go catch mechanics, and it's basically they're just retelling the story of, I think they said Pokemon Yellow is the story, the one that they're remaking.
So it's
but then you get a choice between Pikachu or Eevee as your starter.
Yep.
And then the other big thing they said was that by the end of next year, they will have a full-fledged, regular-ass Pokemon game coming out at the end of 2019. Which some people got some more news about that today. They basically said that that's all this stuff coming out this year is to tide people over, because they've been working on this since before Switch even came out. They've been working on this since before Switch came out. It's not like a thing where they're trying to decide how much of the Pokemon Go stuff to stick in there. They just wanted to do a Pokemon Go thing and to pretty much prop up the fact that Pokemon Go nobody plays anymore, and then they're making their RPG for next year. So those are the big 3 announcements. And
that, wasn't there? I thought there was a new device too coming out.
Yes.
Is
so
that
part
the
of
Pokeball Plus?
Yes.
Okay.
Part of the Let's Go thing is that there's basically a Joy-Con Pokeball that you can.
Which you can put Pokemon in and walk around with.
Yeah, so it all goes with the same thing with Pokemon Go of like get outside and walk around. So you have this Pokemon Go. You basically have a Pokeball with a little joystick on top where the button is, and then you can use it to play the game because it's a one-handed game on top of everything else. I have no idea if that's if that's an option or if it just is a one-handed game. But you can use the Pokeball as a one-handed Joy-Con to play the game, but then you can also transfer one of your Pokemon into that, take it out into the world, and talk to it, which and it'll make noise.
And it'll be going around going, "Hey boy, all the time.
Oh man! But then you can also use that to integrate with Pokemon Go on your phone. Part of that whole transfer process is in there. So
I just really, really hope, and I don't think it is, but I really hope that the candies from Pokemon Go aren't integrated into this, because that's like the worst part of Pokemon Go for me.
I couldn't even figure that whole thing out when I first played it because I stopped playing so quickly that I didn't even like figure out half the mechanics of that game.
It's just like, now I have it still downloaded on my phone, and occasionally I will play it because another one of my friends is very into it. So like occasionally, like if we go to a city or something, like we will play. But it's just like, I really don't like. So you have to get a certain amount of candies in order to evolve your Pokemon, right? But some of those Pokemon take like 400 candies to evolve, like Magikarp. Because
he had to be annoying in every game.
Yes. So you need like 400 candies to evolve that. I think you needed a 400 for there was another one that I was like, are you kidding me? Like, why does this one get a 400 cap? And it's just like, you get them from catching the Pokemon of the same species. So like, if you catch like 100 Magikarps, you'll get like 5 candies each or something. I don't remember the math, but so you have to catch a bunch of Magikarps, or you just like make them your buddy, and then every like 5 kilometers they get a candy. And then you can transfer your
Great job.
Pokemon
Great
and
job there,
get
Pokemon
like
Company.
a candy each. Like it was just, I just want to evolve them. Like why does like I understand that your whole thing is to get people out and moving and doing that, but you can do that and make the evolution process tied into that, not being about candies.
Yeah, yeah.
Like walk X amount of distance to get Magikarp. Like you could make it with steps and not with candies. And it was like
Yeah.
that's really what turned me off from that game. Was like I just want my Eevees. I just want all of the Eevees that are available in this, evolutions that are available in this. I just want to have like a Raichu or something, like, or Growlithe in an Arcanine, like it's just it just, I don't know. I think I would have stuck with it if the candies weren't a thing, and I really hope they aren't a necessary component of Let's
Yeah,
Go.
it's gonna be really interesting to see how much of the whole Go integration
Yeah.
is part of the story versus just kind of the extra stuff you can do.
Yeah. Yeah, like
So
a part of me feels like it might be an option, like you can turn it off if you want. I don't know, but hopefully there's more information that comes out during E3.
it'll probably be a big
Um,
chunk of whatever their
their
direct
yeah,
is that comes out
exactly.
on, I think, Tuesday or something. Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm still excited. I'm still excited because if you have Eevee, Eevee rides on your head, and if you have Pikachu, he rides on your, or she rides on your shoulder. And it looks like the other Pokemon can follow you as well, which is what I said
Yeah.
all I wanted.
I think I think you get to pick one to like
Follow,
follow you
yeah.
around, or apparently you can just ride the Onyx, which I think is the best thing in the world. Um,
I saw
and
that and
also
I
looks
was
like
like,
I assume that it's just for Eevee and Pikachu, but you can dress them up, which I think looks
yes.
freaking adorable.
I
So
It's so funny because like I love dressing up animals in games, but I don't like dressing up animals in real life. And I'm like, but Eevee looks adorable with a little hat. It's so cute.
uh,
I also
so yeah,
I saw that Onyx. Just side note, I saw that Onyx, and I was like, oh, look at that Steelix. I
oh my
don't know.
God.
I don't know why I thought it was a Steelix. I really like Steelix as a Pokemon.
This is only generation 1. Don't
I'm
bring your
aware.
gen whatever
I
after.
don't even know.
Um,
I don't even know what Gen Steelix is from. Ow. I just pinched my finger. Anyways, but
um,
I actually really do like Steelix. Just side note, whatever.
and
Tangents.
going back to the Go integration thing, the other thing I need to look into, because I didn't even really think about it till like this morning, is that they're trying to do, so there's still trainer battles in
Mhm.
Let's Go, but they're saying something about not having the random encounters, like at least in the tall grass or anything like that. So I have no idea how the actual system's going to work if you're
Yeah.
not catching the Pokemon in Go.
So it looks like what, cuz I watched the trailer twice. I've only watched it twice. Like I'm not crazy. I'm not going to watch it like 100 times.
I have
But
analyzed every second of this trailer to tell you everything about it.
based on what I saw, it looks like, so there's that moment where I think it's a Pidgey and it's like flapping around, and the trainer walks up to the Pidgey, and that's
Okay.
when it activates it.
So see, through
So
like,
it's
I mean,
like
again, so much like Go, where you have to like walk toward it on your
exactly.
real life map. So it's just in the in-game map, you just walk up to
You
them and
just
start the
walk up
battle
to
as
it and
opposed to.
start.
Okay.
So
Okay.
so it's kind of like it's not a random. Well, it's random because different Pokemon probably show up in different places, but you know what you're encountering
Right.
before.
It's not just like a screen goes black while you're in the tall grass and then it's like, I took one step, game. I took one
Exactly.
step and you have me fighting again.
I was just trying to avoid you, and somehow a pixel crossed lines.
Oh man.
But no, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully, like I said, in our E3 thing, hopefully, if we have more things to talk about. But it is
Yeah.
exciting that it is officially confirmed, and that
Yeah, another so someone that had like leaked a bunch of the Fallout information on Reddit also leaked what they claim was a picture of the like Nintendo Direct schedule, basically, of what games are going to be talked about. And it looked like there was a Pokemon section on there,
Okay.
but I'm waiting to see the Direct before I talk
Exactly.
about anything else that's on there, because there was some really interesting stuff on there, but nothing like super mind blowing or anything.
Yeah.
But
I do hope that since they said the game is coming out in 2019, I kind of hope they announce what it's gonna be. I know they're not going to, but
yeah,
it would just be
I mean, they
nice
said
to like hold on to something, like
yeah,
know
they
that it's
said
coming.
second half. I think again at Kotaku, one of their writers got like a interview with one of the game director or whatever. So they did say second half of 2019. So probably again like November or whatever.
Yeah.
And they said it would be brand new and that it would be Gen 8, which is the new one they'd be on.
Oh,
So
wow.
it would be an entirely new RPG Pokemon game.
Yep.
So
it is crazy that a never before seen Pokemon is gonna show up.
That was the thing
Let's
that
Go
interested
Pikachu
me.
Yeah.
Yeah. By going, I mean, they got to do something if they're going to go back and just
Exactly.
remake a story.
And
like they got to do other stuff with it.
A
So.
lot of people think it's gonna be an evolution. I will be very happy, but I also, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
It doesn't make sense if you're gonna buy Let's Go Pikachu over Let's Go Eevee.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
It doesn't make
Yeah, I mean, like I said, sometimes I'll watch like theories about evolutions, and the things that people come up with is crazy. Like the math that people do, like they're like, oh, well, in red and blue we got 3, and then we got 2, and then 2, and then like they have different type
It's following the
matchups,
Fibonacci
it's like,
sequence. Don't you understand?
it's gonna be in Gen 8, and I don't know. But it'd be cool if there was another evolution. But I'm also, it'd be even better if it was just completely new, like not a different form of something. It was just like a brand new Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, it being a different form of something makes the most sense, just because it's back on the original 150 or whatever. But that doesn't mean they won't just throw something out there.
Exactly, to make it the 151.
Someone had said that like one of the few types left for an evolution is dragon, and I was like, so can we just, is it Spyro? It just turns into Spyro. The right size.
Oh my god, it's true. It's true. Oh my god.
Speaking of size, I mean, that was the other thing that like someone pointed out, that they built the Pokemon that follow you around are built to scale with whatever, like with the size that they are in the Pokedex.
Oh yeah.
Because people don't think about that when they read them, and it's like Gengar is 10 feet tall, and then it's like, oh my god, you don't think about the fact that's 4 feet taller than like a average person. This thing following you around behind you.
The picture of Gengar and I think it's Voltorb going behind the trainers, the Voltorb just rolling, like, oh my god, they are terrifying looking, but fantastic.
Because it's a lot of people think about the anime, and the anime doesn't. Sometimes the anime doesn't care about the proportions. You know how many times Pikachu beats a freaking Geodude? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever with the logic of the game you've given us. And it's like, so the anime doesn't care. The anime doesn't care.
It plays by its own rules. It's okay.
Yeah.
So it's like Pokemon 2.
So it's just like to then have the game side of that company be like, no, this is what it would really look like. It just blows your mind.
That's great. Oh my god.
So you played a little bit of Quest, you said?
Yes. So I basically finished the first area. So basically the tutorial.
That's kind of where I have been too, because I'm bouncing between the front two. I'm doing exactly what I do in a Pokemon game, which is I'm now grinding the Pokemon I have all up to the same level at the same time. So I'm just bouncing back and forth between the same 2 areas with same level Pokemon. Ugh. I'm terrible.
No, it's fine. It's okay. That's how you do it. It's fine. No, I actually really enjoy it. I kind of like that it's just simple. I like that I don't have to control them. They kind of just go. I just have to control what move they use, which you don't even have to do that if you really don't want to. I got a Vulpix to show up, and it was a level 15.
Yeah, I actually like that catch mechanic of just like, cook some food and they'll just wander over.
Exactly.
Because they're wild animals, and that's what they do.
Exactly. It's true. Yep. Yeah, so it's basically, for anyone who doesn't know what Pokemon Quest is, it's basically, like we said, it's a mobile game, but you basically just go through a little area and you collect loot. That was like their money word on that game was collect loot, collect loot. We're here to collect loot.
Because I mean, you're not doing any of the fighting or anything else, so you
Yeah.
have to do something. Loot, loot, loot.
So you collect loot in these different areas, and then it's mainly like food or power ups. That's basically what you're collecting is power ups or food. And the food, like we said, is used to attract more Pokemon to your little camp base area. And the first two I attracted were a Pidgey and Rattata, which I'm.
I think that I did too. I think that's just the basic.
That's like the
thing.
tutorial. Catches.
Which is also the same two Pokemon you will always meet out right outside of Pallet Town in Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow, and now Oh my God, I'm a dork.
I knew it
that
too.
hasn't been clear after 10 episodes. I don't know.
But then my third Pokemon was a Vulpix, and I was very excited about that. I like screamed.
Oh, let's see. I just got a Mankey to show up.
Oh, there
got
you
an
go.
Ekans. Got a Horsey.
Oh, a Horsey!
Which just sounds like, I just realized that's the first time I've ever said that out loud, and you just sound like a 3-year-old saying Horsey.
I'm sorry. Horsey.
I got a Horsey.
I got a Horsey. The best. Horsey. Yeah.
And of course, I chose Squirtle as my start. You chose Eevee, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah, there we go.
It's a toss-up. It's always a toss-up between Eevee and Bulbasaur, but if the choice is there, it's gonna be Eevee. If Eevee is not there, it's gonna be Bulbasaur.
Well, the nice thing is that
Hands down.
Let's Go, if it's following the the remake of Yellow, you'll get all three.
Exactly.
You'll get Bulbasaur along with your Eevee.
Exactly. That's basically. Here's the thing. If it does follow that, my team is going to be Eevee, Bulbasaur, Squirtle, Charmander, and then evolve them, and then add 2 more Pokemon. Like that's gonna probably be my team. just to say that it is.
Yeah. So So I like it. I like it enough. I've been playing it the last day and a half. It's fine.
Yeah, I specifically downloaded it before we started recording, so I could try it out, so we could talk about it, since it is like the first new Pokemon thing that we have gotten our hands on since Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. But yeah, I like it. It's very calm. Like it's not you can basically just let it go and not have to pay attention to it. I like it. I like those kind of things where I don't have to.
And
like,
I appreciated
invest.
that. I appreciated that like none of the microtransaction stuff is in the game. If you go to the eShop and go under its page, it's got a whole bunch of stuff. Like you can buy.
Oh, thank God.
And you can buy like stones and stuff for like, I think there's some of the bigger power stones you can buy, like all of them, and then like some decorations, all this other stuff. But it's all under the eShop, and nothing I've seen on the game itself is like. There's like one button that's like, hey, go to the eShop and buy more stuff. But other than that, it's not at all in your face or anything like that.
Okay, that's good. That makes me very happy. And getting in-game money is actually pretty easy too. Like
there's
if you
one
do
like
the
every
challenges, like 20 hours or something, 20 minutes.
I think it's every 24 hours. It will give you 50 of them that you can just pluck, and then as you said, you do challenges and quests and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's kind of if you're patient and actually enjoy the game, like you don't need. That's one thing. I know it's supposed to be a mobile game. Like it's supposed to be on the phone and all that, and those don't generally have end games. I kind of want this to have an end game, though.
I mean, there's only so many areas on the little island they plop you on, so I assume at the very I don't expect there to be a story to it, but I assume at some point it's just going to be like, okay, I've defeated everything, I'm done, and then you can feel a sense of closure to it, so that you can be like, I don't have to play this anymore.
Exactly. But honestly, it's probably what's gonna hold me over until Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee come out, if I don't beat Ultra Sun.
That's the other nice thing, is that at least it's not. I mean, I like that Let's Go is different enough, because Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon were really just those like, oh yeah, we added a few things to games that already came out. Yeah. So I like that they are different enough.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. So. Yeah. So we'll see. E3 is just around the corner, so we will see.
So we can pack away that ridiculous noise.
Yes, I won't I won't do
I'll
it
give you
anymore.
one more. I'll give you one more.
Hey, boy.
There we go.
It's so I apologize for that video I made. I really do.
Oh my god, I was just confused at what it was, and then all of a sudden it's just like you and Devin screaming at me. What the hell? Like,
Well, that's all I was doing while
oh,
after the video played. I was just like, this is what I'm latching onto. Is this
oh man.
crazy Eevee vocal? Like,
Because you know what it is that is someone who is specifically trying to mimic the sound the sound bit from the original game rather than like the anime.
the show.
Because like
Yeah,
all of the
no.
like glitchy 8-bit sounds they used to make that don't
Oh,
actually
my
sound
God.
like their names.
Nope.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah, I
god.
think its call in like a game is like something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's definitely someone's call. The thing I just did. But yes,
Some Pokemon is now coming
is now
somewhere.
going to appear
No, it's
in front
yep.
of me. So yes, so I feel like we should box that away and move on to our second subject of the evening of our 10th episode.
The-
10th episode.
We'll move on to the supposed box office bomb bullshit.
So
Yeah, I knew you were
stupid.
gonna have something to feel about that.
I can't
Solo
believe it.
came
Solo.
out over the weekend. It was Memorial Day weekend, and
Yes.
Solo, a Star Wars story, came out.
Yes.
You really seemed to enjoy it.
I
Texted me, you were like, "We need to talk about this." I was okay on it. I didn't hate it, but like it didn't blow me away or anything. But
so that's the reaction I keep getting from people. And it's very weird for me to like because yeah.
so what did you like so much about it? Let's start there. What was it that is giving you such a strong reaction to
Okay.
it?
So the cop out answer is literally everything. Like I'm not even joking. Like that's the thing. Like as soon as it starts, I was in. I was like ready into it. I'm like this is cool. We're starting with a chase. Like it's beautiful. The lighting and I'm bad. I don't remember the different planet names, but wherever they were.
Oh, yeah,
The-
their original
Their original place.
scummy planet.
They're the scrum rats or whatever I think they're
That's
called.
what they were called. That
Yeah.
was Scrub Rat, wasn't it?
Yeah. That the lighting, the blue light was so cool. Like so I was like this is great. I am ready for what is about to happen. And then we meet Kira, who is just another badass.
I love how much she was in that movie so much more than I thought she was going to
Yeah.
be. Like the fact that she is like a solid character. The fact that they're already together was really nice too.
Mhm.
Like they didn't
Yeah,
have to
we
go
didn't
through
have to-
all of the like
Exactly.
I'm going to flirt with you and you're not going to like me until like 5 minutes before the end. No, you understood like they were together at the beginning of that movie.
Yeah.
And so when they meet up later, it actually like it feels like
Means
okay, so
something.
I get this and I don't need an hour's worth of exposition to get up to this point. This is
Yeah.
great. That I did enjoy.
Yeah, when they like kissed, I was like, cool, sweet. Don't have to worry about that. But yeah, it was just I was just so invested. And that never has happened with a Star Wars movie with me before. So I was like, well, this is different. Let's see where it takes us. And
Yeah.
it just from there, it's really nonstop action. And I talked about with one of my coworkers who was like the only other person who I talked to other than Devin who was like, "Oh man, I loved that movie." He was like, "It wasn't a Star Wars movie, but it was fantastic because it wasn't a Star Wars movie, you know?"
See, I would actually even
I don't know
So-
how much of that I agree with, but
right. And I'm trying to think of the best way to like word it too, because the whole thing with the Star Wars movies, like in the original trilogy, is that they are very by the book adventure movies.
Mhm.
Like to the point where like George Lucas literally took the Joseph Campbell like hero story and lined up Luke's story with that purposely.
Yeah.
So like that's why it's very like by the book. And I would say that the thing with Solo felt like it was also by the book, a different book, but also like by the book in a lot of ways, which is why I think it works as a Star
Well,
Wars story.
I really
'Cause
like
it's telling its own version of a story that I've seen before.
Yeah.
I think is the best way to put that.
I like it because as much as I love the Force and talking about, like the dark side and, the light side, and seeing, that sometimes the dark side is right, and that's scary, that there are times when the thing about Last Jedi was I'm sitting there, much to Infinity War, I'm sitting there being like, Kylo has a point. Like, in order to stop all of this, we need to stop all of this and rebuild, And it's like, that's scary that he has a point. Just like Thanos is like, we need to eradicate half of the population.
Because we're terrible at using what we have.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean that's just good villain writing, is what that is. Like
exactly.
that, and it's always gonna work that way.
So,
I also appreciated that. Like, I mean, Luke. The other funny part to that is that Luke kind of is on that same page.
Exactly.
It is really interesting to watch. Like, I gotta go back and rewatch Last Jedi because it's been long enough that I can rewatch it and not think about the first time I watched it.
I didn't like Last Jedi that much. I liked the maybe second half of it, but that whole build up was. Ugh. But anyway, Solo.
I suspect that I'll have to do the same thing with Solo that I did with Rogue One, and we'll have to do with Last Jedi, which is that I just have to watch it a second time, because I think like the first time I watched them, there's a very specific set of like expectations that comes with going to see them, and it's just like I need a second to okay, I know what's coming now. Let me process this a different way, and I think I'll probably love Solo at like Rogue One. I did not like the first time I watched it.
I hate Rogue One. I think
it was great the second time. I think it's great. Because it's just, I mean, it's the Magnificent Seven in space. I mean,
but it's but like it's so boring. Whereas the Magnificent Seven, again, it's just like this somehow just works. But I fell asleep during Rogue One.
So anyway, Solo.
Right asleep. Anyways, Solo. We will talk about this, and it shouldn't be said. I mean, it should be said, but spoilers. Like, it's gonna happen with a new movie coming out.
Well, since apparently we're going to get into this later, but with the weekend that Solo had, I think we could just talk about it, because I think the only way people are going to go see it is if people just talk about it and tell them what to expect.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I don't know. And it's like I said, so having that, I've never been like a huge Star Wars. I never watched them as a kid. The first time I watched Star Wars was in college, and it was right before Force Awakens came out. And I watched the original trilogy, and I was like, this is okay. There are parts of it that I enjoy. There are parts of it that I really, hate and can't really get behind. But, those I can kind of divide myself from those and separate myself from those. But then I saw Force Awakens, and I was like, oh, man. Force Awakens, that's next level. This is fun. These are characters that I love. They're fantastic. Like, even Kylo Ren, I love him, And then, so, it's just, I don't have that nostalgia that people have when going into these, and I don't have the same expectations that people have. So, for me to come out of a Star Wars movie being like, that was the best movie, that was the best Star Wars movie, which was like my quote the whole time, is a very foreign subject to me. And then it's even weirder to then talk about it with die-hard Star Wars fans and then being like, it was okay. It's not the best. And it's just like, where am I? Is this am I in the Twilight Zone? Am I like the next character on a Twilight Zone episode? Like, it's very weird. But
yeah, I think in my head, my bigger problem. It's a bigger me problem. It's always a me problem. I'm never going to blame a movie for. There's very few movies that I would ever say are like bad or that I wouldn't sit through. There are bad movies I absolutely love, and I think it's because I can usually find something to latch onto in anything.
Yeah.
A movie has to be like really offensive for me to not like it, and even then, I've seen some offensive crap. But I think what I'm doing with Star Wars right now, and it's because they've decided to do this whole Star Wars story thing like every other year, is that I'm comparing it to the MCU too much. And so like my expectations with that, and it's all because of Disney and the like yearly release schedule now, right? Like they'll never reach Marvel levels. You're never going to get 3 Star Wars movies in a year. That's never going to happen.
No.
But the idea that they're doing yearly releases, in my head, I'm thinking like, oh, okay, so like, especially with the Star Wars story side movies, they should feel like they should be getting like crazy. They should be getting crazy with the directors they pick. Like, just pick someone random that's like really out there for what you would think a Star Wars movie would be, and let them do it. And I think what I was expecting was, when Lord and Miller were in charge of this thing.
Yeah.
I think that's the movie I really wanted. And what I got was a Ron Howard movie, a very well made, well acted Ron Howard movie, but it just wasn't. It wasn't the Lord and Miller movie I wanted, because it wasn't, Lego movie and 21 Jump Street, like crazy, wild, out there stuff.
Okay.
And so I think that's what really hit. Again, though, I can't say like I'm not there. I don't think there was anything bad with the movie. I think I came into it with a completely different set of expectations, because I don't even care about the frickin' Last Jedi dweebs that are like oh, you ruined Star Wars by changing up you ruin the characters by tearing them down, and Kathleen Kennedy running Lucasfilm now is ruining things because women suck. No, screw you. Those people suck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those people
exactly.
suck it entirely. I have just a completely different set of out there expectations for these things that are less sexist and still crazy.
Yeah. But it makes sense. Like, if you read so much about, or if you latch onto a certain pair of people who are going to work on it, and their past work, like, it makes sense, the expectations that you had going in. For me,
right.
I wasn't keeping up with it as much as other people were, so I only ever really knew that Ron Howard was going to be a part of it. And I love Ron Howard. So I guess maybe I had an expectation of that, but also I was like, it makes sense. You're not crazy. You don't sound as crazy. What I'm trying to get at is that you don't sound as crazy as you think you sound for having those expectations going into Solo. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. In the characters, like the new characters that showed up.
Oh man, L3 might be one of my favorite characters that's ever been written in a Star Wars movie, though. I just want to say that.
Right?
Because she sounds like every person that has been trying to write think pieces on Star Wars for 30 years, which is like right in my wheelhouse of like crazy, of just like stuff I'll read on the internet.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, don't you realize that the droids are slaves? Why don't we ever talk about that?
Yeah.
How come no one talks about that? It's like, okay, here's someone who's going to talk about it. They're also a droid, and they're going to blow up later. But
yeah, well, so speaking of blowing up, so four, I mean, he doesn't die until the very end. But Rio, Val, and L3, as soon as we met them, I was very enamored with them. I was like, you are so good. Like, I care about you, and I just met you. Like, they gave them good little backstories that were just enough for you to, like, latch on to who they were as a character.
Right, you're not getting like your entire life story of things, which
no,
I'm sure
but,
like might be one of the things you didn't like about Rogue One. Is part of the reason that's really slow build up is that you have to know about every one of these characters, so you feel bad when they die later.
Welcome to the point I was just about to make. So thanks. It's good. After 10 episodes, we can already know where the other one's gonna go. No, but seriously, like the Rogue One characters, it's like, these people are gonna die. You know that this is the beginning of Star Wars, pretty much. So why do I care about them, kind of thing? And it's like, you guys gave me too much information about these characters who they matter in the grand scheme of Star Wars, but like, I can't latch onto them the same way that I'm going to latch onto Rio, Val, and L3. Because here's the thing. Those three characters could have still existed in the world of Star Wars, but they just don't interact with Han anymore,
Right. I mean, the fact that it's so divorced from anything else. Like, this was basically every kind of one-off line or random thing that Han talked about in his past. That's what this movie is.
Exactly.
It is not anywhere near connected to the rest of the rest of the Star Wars like saga in any way, with the exception of one major cameo toward the end that I
Whoa!
absolutely loved. Uh,
Apparently, people were confused about it, and I don't know how that's a thing.
um, I mean, he's a little less. One, he talked, which he never did in Phantom Menace.
That's true.
Oh, it's Darth Maul, by the way, everybody. Darth Maul's been brought back.
He's
So
alive.
yeah, he was a little less red, and I can't tell if that was the hologram or if it was supposed to be that like as he got older, he got a little less red or something. But I think that was just, and also we haven't seen that character in 20 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we haven't. A lot of other people have. I have a friend at work who was just like, I have a friend who is just like, oh yeah, no, I can tell you exactly why he showed up at the end of that movie, and goes into this whole thing about how after he's chopped in half, someone picks him up and takes him off planet to get him, like a brother finds him or something and gets
Yeah.
his robotic legs, and then he becomes like this criminal under like the Crimson Dawn leader, like criminal underground leader for years, and he actually shows up, I think, in the Star Wars Clone Wars show that was
Yeah,
just
he
on.
does. Yeah.
Yeah, and that like that background is all in there, and there's all
Yeah.
part of extended universe stuff that they wiped out of existence when Kathleen Kennedy took over Lucasfilm, but they still are like diving into that stuff and bringing it back, which I appreciate. Like I appreciate
yeah,
that they
totally.
didn't just like wipe out 30 years of fan fiction basically and pretend like it never happened. So I think it's just the fact that for most moviegoers who didn't follow any of that like side stuff, this would never be like. I'm not surprised that they didn't like either remember him or were like, how is he alive after 20 years?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, exactly.
but that also means he'll show up in the Boba Fett movie. They already announced the Boba Fett movie, and there's no way that you do a Boba Fett movie without involving him now.
Yeah,
That would be
true.
crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it was also, the thing that I liked about Han, and I think you brought it up, was like, it had nothing to do with the other Star Wars movies. It was just all Han all the time. Like, I don't know. And after the movie ended, I turned and I was like, you know what the worst part of that movie was? My knowledge of the other Star Wars movies. And it really is because, like, Kira is probably one of my favorite characters that have been created in this world, in the movie world. Now, I'm not talking about the books or anything like that, but in the movie world, she is so cool, and like I don't even care that she's like kind of bad.
But like you can tell she feels bad about that.
Exactly.
Like I love that she is so much more complex than most of the characters that you get in a Star Wars movie.
And they explain why. She's a survivor. Like she has to do what she has to do in order to survive. And this is just the next thing she has to do. Like I don't think she expected to ever see Han again, Like I really think she expected him to kind of forget about her and never show up again.
That was a weirdly mature relationship they had also for like any movie. This is like any movie. Every other movie in existence, that they're like reuniting, she would have been mad at him for 20 minutes of that movie.
Yes.
And he would have had to convince her that he was still like that he still cared about her and was coming back for her. Like he was gone for like 3 or 4 years. Was the time leap between that?
I believe so.
I think it was like 3 years that they meet up again, and it's just like, oh, there you are. Oh, never thought I'd see you again. How you doing?
Yeah, it was so seamless. It was
and then
so
they made out in a cape closet, which might have been my favorite thing in the whole movie. The fact that there was a cape closet for Lando on the Millennium Falcon, because I didn't like think about it at first, but she's just like in this room, and I'm like, oh, this must be. For no reason whatsoever, I was like, oh, so this is her closet. Never occurred to me to think anything else, and she's just like, well, I mean, I couldn't resist coming in here and looking at the capes, and I was like, oh my god, it's Lando's cape closet.
So good. Like those little things were good too. Like just a little off to the side comments. It's like, oh, this is great. You're just adding to this world that I just want to stay in forever. But like knowing that Kira and him don't somehow rekindle their relationship makes me very upset in some way.
It
you
builds
guys
into
are
the
so good together.
And it makes sense about like why he would be hesitant to be with Leia later.
Yes.
As like the last woman that I absolutely loved totally betrayed me.
Yeah.
And like, oh my god.
It,
Oh,
it
and the Kessel Run.
that
The
was so cool.
the the best thing about that is it fixed the physics problem of the Kessel Run, because he says in New Hope, I did the Kessel Run in less
12.
than 12 parsecs. And everyone's like, dude, parsec means time or means distance, not time. Just because sec is at the end does not mean it means second. It's
Yeah.
distance, not time. And how do they fix that in Solo? He literally takes a shortcut. And they're like, that's how I did it in less than 12 parsecs, you morons. I took
Exactly.
a shortcut.
Yep. So good. That was so good. That whole
uh,
sequence was good. Them. Oh.
See, talking about it, I'm like already enjoying it more.
See?
I don't know what was going on.
Oh man, yeah, I don't
uh,
know, and it's making me sad that people are like, oh, it's a bomb and blah blah blah. It's a box office bomb, and I'm like,
Let me.
man,
I gotta look up what its total was
the
for
one.
all 5 days. Here's the biggest thing that I think made it kind of suffer. First off, we're only 5 months out from Last Jedi
Yep.
and all of that stuff. Like that was always it didn't stand a chance. Not
No.
being coming out a
Mm,
year later, coming out only 5 months.
yeah.
Um,
It's also Memorial Day weekend.
and yeah, I mean, like it started off. It opened on Thursday night instead of opening on Friday, and it had a 4-day weekend to deal with.
Hmm.
So you're talking about like a movie that is definitely like a family kids movie type of deal coming out on what is ostensibly a school night still for a lot of people. School hasn't officially gotten out for some people. I mean, it differs from state to state and district to district and all that, but
Yes.
like asking
The
people to go to a midnight
majority.
showing, yeah, asking people to go to a midnight showing on a weekday is never going to be huge business for you.
No.
And then, like you said, it's spread across. That's spread across 4 days. It was like already at 150 million, which I think they said it was anywhere between 200 and 300. They haven't actually said the official number that they spent on this with all of their reshoots and bringing in Ron Howard and all this
Yeah.
other stuff. So, because Paul Bettany was also brought in when Ron Howard came in, because the reshoots he wanted to do, the guy who was originally supposed to play that character
Hmm.
was not available. So they had to replace him entirely,
Oh wow.
which also means they had to replace any scenes earlier in the movie with him too. So
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
talking about
Or
paying a whole.
they could just pull at Eric Stoltz and sometimes use his back.
Ugh.
Oh God. But yeah, I don't know. I really, really
But
enjoyed it.
yeah, if you're out there and you've been back and forth on it, or you're just not sure, um, or you're just like uncertain of yourselves or anything like that, just go see it. Pick it up later on DVD.
Yeah.
Give it a little bit more love. I suspect that later on, I feel like this is one of those things where like later on people are gonna be like, man, Solo was a lot more fun than I remember, or something
Yeah.
like. But
It's like an
it's also
it's a second
it's not
thought
gonna
movie.
it's not going to change a damn thing for the plans of Disney and Star Wars. Like I think all of the dude bro assholes that were taught like celebrating that it bombed and all that think that somehow this is going to like end all of Lucasfilm's plans. No. First off, the episode 9, there's no way that doesn't make $300 billion.
Yeah, no. Yeah, this is basically another just placeholder like here's a little taste of some Star Wars to tie you over,
Yeah.
guys.
And here's the thing with Disney. Between Black Panther and Infinity War this year, they've made enough money to have movies like Solo come out for the next like decade and
Yep.
not be a problem.
Oh yeah.
So,
Totally. They've
so
had
they
enough
don't.
money,
Yeah.
to be honest. I mean,
If anything, it will shift. It might shift the way they decide to do these Solo movies. Like I said, maybe they will take bigger risks. Maybe they will take less risks, which would be sad but
yeah.
possible. But like my hope is that they look at this and they look at Boba Fett in the future and they go, you know what? Let's find someone who is great on their own. Let's find a Taika Waititi or a Ryan Coogler
Oh my God.
or yeah, Taika Waititi, especially because the actor that played Jango Fett and the actor that played Baby Boba Fett in Attack of the Clones were both Maori,
Mhm.
New Zealand indigenous
Yes.
Maori.
Yeah.
So like to have Taika Waititi come in and do that and hire an actor like another Maori actor to do that part would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
But like that's my hope is that they look at it and go, okay, we need something really different because this right now is like we're doing Han Solo, who everybody knew, and Rogue One led up into New Hope. Boba Fett is this like chance to take a character who's really only on screen for like 10 minutes between two movies and just do something really out there. Bring in Darth Maul, bring in Boba Fett, and do some stupid crazy thing
Crazy.
that is even further away from the saga that we already know.
You're right.
So that would be the thing that I think would like that's what I think would make like a great Boba Fett movie, because there's no reason he's barely in the movies, which means there's no reason for
Yeah.
anything that they do with that character to be involved in any of this.
Yeah,
Let's see an entirely different area. Let's see characters we've never like. We don't need to make jokes about connecting anything. We don't need to make any sort of winks or nods to the saga itself. Just do an original story that stars Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm.
All you need to do.
I was so confused when I finally watched the Star Wars movies, and Boba Fett was like, cause growing up and like seeing all the toys and stuff coming out, it's like, oh, Boba Fett must be like this huge deal.
No. He makes the coolest action figure. That's it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you know where Boba Fett started? Do you know where his official first release was, by the way?
No.
In the animated section of the Christmas special is the first time that you ever see Boba Fett.
Really?
Yeah, the Star Wars Christmas special that no one likes to watch except for the fact that everyone should watch it because it's the greatest drug trip. Which you can't even find because the animated part was like somehow they got away with them still being owned by, I think it was the same company that did like He-Man in like Star Trek the animated series and all that, like the like cartoon funnel that those all came out of, and that was the introduction of Boba Fett because that came out between Empire and Last Jedi. Empire and
yes.
Yeah, Return of the Jedi. There's like a part where like Chewie's son, because Chewie's son is in the Christmas special in the creepiest baby Wookiee costume ever made. It's like if an Ewok had longer hair and also was even more terrifying somehow. Like sits down and is like, I'm gonna watch this cartoon now. I also think he speaks English. It's like, I'm gonna watch this cartoon now, and it's a Boba Fett cartoon.
Oh my God.
For like, it's like a little 5-minute Boba Fett cartoon.
That's so cool. That is a very cool little trivia that I never knew before. Oh my gosh. Well, we covered a lot.
Really did.
There was a lot to cover within the past like week.
Well, that's what happens when you don't sleep and you stay up watching 20-hour streams of nothing, and then they announce new Pokemon games.
Exactly.
So
there you go. Well, so I hope you enjoyed our 10th episode. It wasn't like glamorous or anything, but it was glamorous for us, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. But yeah, so this has been Say Report Jr. I have been Dale Decker. I just said the thing that I hate saying. Go ahead.
I have been. Is that what you know?
Yeah.
I have been, always will be, Zach Sarah.
There you go. That's how you end it. Oh man. Well, look out for our E3 episode. I think next week. So it's not this week. It's next week.
It's not this weekend. It's next weekend, which means that we'll
yes.
probably spend most of next episode just kind of rundown of the schedule and expectations and all this other stuff. I think that's what we'll do. You're going to get pre-E3 and then like 2 weeks of E3 episodes. So
it's gonna be great.
I hope you like video games,
It's
everybody.
going to be great. We're going to take a break from the movies and whatnot.
We're going to take a break from only talking about video games for half an episode to talk about them for a whole episode.
It's mainly going to be you and me being like, oh yeah, that happened. No, it's going to be good. But until next time, everybody, have a good week. Bye.
Bye. Take it away, Liz.
Thank you for listening to The Say Report with your hosts Dale Decker and Zach Sarowik. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.